The views expressed on the following broadcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting or its affiliates. The dialogue on this show should not be considered as medical, psychiatric, or professional advice and is delivered only as personal opinions from the host, co-host, and guest. KHLT Recovery Broadcasting is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, here are your co-hosts, Nathan A. and the Monty Man.
Zippity-doo-dah day. Welcome, everybody, to another fine episode of Open Forum here at take12radio.com on your internet dial. As Nathan is singing along with New World Sun, learning to be the light. I am not awake. That's for sure. I'm zoned out. I'm absolutely zoned out. Hey, listen, I just want to give a shout out to the folks at Free by the Sea and Awakenings by the Sea and Seaside. Free by the Sea is in Ocean Park, Washington. And the folks at Astoria Point in Astoria, Oregon. Take 12 Radio was kind of on a little mini tour of these treatment facilities last week. And man, Nathan, this Free by the Sea place is absolutely amazing.
That's the one by the bridge?
No, that's Astoria Point. Astoria Point, you look out on the porch or out of your bedroom or whatever, and the Astoria Bridge. For those of you who don't know, if you've seen the movie Goonies or Short Circuit or The Pacifier and a bunch of other movies, that huge green bridge is the one that's in Astoria. And that's a creepy bridge to cross.
That bridge is on Short Circuit?
Yeah. Yeah, so the little guy jumps off. Whee! Robot. Yeah. And that is a wild bridge. I mean, if you're coming from the Oregon side, crossing over Washington, you start out way up in the air, and you go down, and it's just creepy. I mean, it's weird. It's coming the other way isn't as bad. So I'm making my poor wife videotape. She goes, I can't look. She doesn't like bridges, you know. And I said, oh no, just keep looking in the viewfinder. Just keep looking, you know.
What if an earthquake happens?
Oh, I know. Oh, gee whiz. But Free by the Sea it's just an amazing facility. It used to be a resort, and it's not so plush. I mean, it's kind of run down a little bit, and they're refurbishing and that kind of thing. So it's not like you're in Hollywood or anything like that. But I mean, it's very rustic, very coastal like, and it's just absolutely amazing. And the people, everybody is so friendly. I thought I was joining the Moonies or something. I mean, everybody, you know, we pull up and everybody's dressed in white, and I'm like, I mean, they really weren't. There just had to be three people just happened to be dressed in white. But I'm like, and you couldn't tell the clients from the staff as far as friendliness goes. They were all just so friendly. It was just amazing. And then Astoria Point, the folks at Astoria Point Recovery Center were amazing as well. And we all got these sweatshirts that they gave. We got some swag at Free by the Sea. They gave us these sweatshirts with the promise that we would wear them to Astoria Point, rub their nose in it. And so when we showed up at Astoria Point, we walked in to the office, and here's all these people, staff and clients alike, and they see our sweatshirts. It's like the enemy has arrived. You know, it's our arrival treatment center. But all these guys do it right. They really do it right. There's 12-step models, abstinence-based, just some phenomenal folks. So we just want to thank them. So we're going to talk about three things today. The first part of the show, we're going to talk about depression a little bit. In light of the unfortunate passing of Robin Williams, and I'm sure everybody has been Robin Williams, to death in the last week. But we would definitely be remiss if we didn't talk about it a little bit. And so after trivia, we're gonna talk about depression a little bit. And we're gonna talk a little bit about some signs of codependency really fast, because I just found it very interesting. And then we're gonna talk about humility. We're gonna close out the show with a little bit about humility. And I've never done a 3-topic thing in one show, so we'll see how it goes. So, folks, let's listen to this brand new. Cecil and Bro are bringing you a brand new promotion for the Recovery Northwest Project. Check this out. We'll come back and do trivia.
Hey, dude.
Hey, bro.
Man, I am so excited about this year's National Recovery Month.
Why, bro?
Because, dude, on September 12th, 13th, and 14th, hundreds of recovery folks will be gathering in Vancouver, Washington in unity and purpose, dude.
Pardon me, bro, but what purpose?
Aw, dude, to celebrate the gift of recovery. Pay attention.
Really? What time, bro?
At 9 a.m. Friday morning, September 12th, an incredible recovery conference will kick off the event at the Red Lion Inn in Vancouver, Washington, dude. Exhibitors, speakers, and presenters will all come together as we break down the stigma of addiction, dude.
Yeah? Then what happens?
On Sunday, we'll walk on over to Eastern Short Park for the powerful Hands Across the Bridge ceremony, dude, followed by Oxfest. You know, the sober living folks.
Can I bring my buddies?
Everyone's invited, dude, and it's free.
It's free?
Dude, what did I just say?
For details on all the events at the Recovery Northwest Project, visit recoverynw.org. Supported in part by the Clark County Department of Community Services, Alcohol and Drug Program, and the Clark County Substance Abuse Advisory Board. Hey there, this is the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio. You know, many of us have attended all sorts of addiction symposiums and treatment conventions, and so much of the time we walk away from these events feeling like we've been preaching to the choir just one more time. May I suggest a different kind of substance abuse and addiction treatment event? The Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference, February 5th through the 8th, 2015, at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center. The current field of substance abuse and addiction treatment has been evolving for almost 8 decades now, and during this time we have seen many important developments as well as many failed experiments. It seems time to step back and conduct a professional inventory of where we have been, where we are now, and where we are heading. Well, this conference will provide a forum that encourages professional dialogues of controversial issues, showcases innovative and creative treatment approaches, and offers an overview of the field and its future. For more information, visit www.theevolutionofaddictiontreatment.com. Join me and many of my guests as we attend the Evolution of Addiction Treatment Conference, February 5th through the 8th, at the Westin Los Angeles Airport Hotel and Convention Center, 2015.
All right, it's time for Take 12 Trivia. That's right, the world's most hated game, Take 12 Trivia. This week it's pie trivia. And Nathan said he likes pie.
I like pie a lot.
I don't know why pie. I just don't. It just, something in my head said do pie trivia. So here we go. 36 million Americans say apple pie is their favorite. 75 million Americans prefer milk with their pie. 90% of Americans say that a slice of pie represents one of the simple pleasures in life. Well, 6 million American men ages 35 to 54 have done what? And here are your choices. 6 million American men. Eaten the last slice of pie and denied it, thrown pie in their wife's face, or requested pie instead of cake for their wedding reception. So your choices are 6 million American men.
A.
A. Eaten the last piece of pie and denied it.
I don't know how they prove that.
Well, you're right.
Wow.
It is A. I don't know how they prove it either, but it's been proven. Right?
Okay.
Okay? All right.
You better ask somebody.
That's how you find out. Okay. In 1644 in England, Oliver Cromwell, by the way, who was a military and political leader and a Puritan, did a pie a terrible injustice. What did he do? Here are your choices. He stood in the middle of town with his feet covered in apricot pie. He banned the eating of pie as a pagan form of pleasure. Or he burned down a pie shop in protest to sugar.
A.
A, stood in the middle of town with his feet covered in apricot pie. Actually, it was B, banned the eating of pie as a pagan form of pleasure.
Wow.
No more pie. No
What?
more pie.
You want some?
Yeah. Question number 3. Which one of these pies is not the top 3 of America's favorites? You have 4 choices. Which one is not amongst the top 3 of America's favorites? Lemon meringue, chocolate, pumpkin, or apple?
Ooh, I'm going to say chocolate.
Chocolate. Well, actually, it's the top 3 are apple first, pumpkin second, and chocolate third. So it's lemon meringue is not amongst the top 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and turn that down.
Oh, okay. All right, here's your bonus question. Nathan Adams, the original pies were made out of what? Fruit, meat, or pudding?
Meat.
You are correct. Pies.
Meat pie.
Pies were predominantly meat pies, spelled P-Y-E-S. Originally appeared in England as early as the 12th century. The crust of the pie was referred to as a coffin, and there were actually more crust than filling. Often these pies were made using fowl, and the legs were hung over the side of the dish and used as handles.
Wow. That sounds pretty awful.
Thus the, whatever that thing is about the blackbirds in the pie thing, it's actually was true.
Are you thinking the Beatles song?
No. The 4 and 20 blackbirds.
Oh, gotcha.
Cooked in a pie and blah, blah, blah. So they let the feet hang over the edge. And they use those as handles.
Man, that don't sound yummy. Yeah.
Yes,
the
indeed.
station that makes the others sound bad.
That's right. Dum, 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 dum. Okay, we'll be right back, and let's talk about depression.
When it comes to drug and alcohol treatment, all of us here at Take 12 Radio understand how overwhelming it is to find the right facility for you and your loved one. The internet alone is flooded with drug and alcohol treatment centers claiming to be the one that can help achieve a life of abundance free from addiction. How can one possibly know which one to choose? Well, when you call Broad Highway Recovery for a drug and alcohol treatment referral, you will immediately know that the person who answers the phone is very passionate about making sure they recommend the best facility for the individual that's in need. They will narrow your search down to 3 drug rehab facilities based on the information that you provide. Each call is confidential, and each caller will be treated with the utmost respect and compassion. Look you don't have to go through this alone. The folks at Broad Highway are interventionists that are 100% committed to helping your family. If you are willing to go to any length for your loved one, then they can help you begin the recovery process. Please call them today and take the first step towards a new and bright future on the broad highway of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. Their toll-free number is 877-487-1599. That's 877-487-1599. Visit their website at broadhighwayrecovery.com.
Sober Chat App is the first ever location-sensitive mobile chat application designed to instantly connect people who share the common goal of staying sober. Sober Chat will revitalize and revolutionize 12-stepping as we know it. At any time of day or night, you can simply log on and help someone by making phone contact, taking someone to a meeting for coffee, or chat via text messaging on the Sober Chat mobile application. Register now for your download of the Sober Chat app. Visit SoberChatApp.com. That's SoberChatApp.com. The power of sharing is now at your fingertips. Sober Chat, the app that saves lives. Sober Chat is not a replacement for attending 12-step meetings, sponsorship, or working the 12 steps.
I didn't think it was possible for me to be an alcoholic. I was 24 with a good career. I thought I was too smart and that alcoholism only happened to middle-aged men and celebrities. I thought something else was making me sick, shaky, and afraid to face people. Then I found AA and discovered it wasn't something else, it was alcohol. AA helped me find a new life. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Alrighty, and we are back, and as everybody knows by now, if you don't know, you probably have been asleep, but unfortunately we lost Robin Williams last week, and it is looking more and more like he indeed was sober, but he was battling with extreme depression, and I'm not going to belabor the Robin Williams thing. The networks have done a fine job of covering that, and everybody has been mourning his death. But I do want to make a statement in regards to several Facebook posts that I saw that were absolutely ludicrous, and they were statements. Well, I'll just quote one. Depression is not an illness, it's a choice. He made a choice. And this came from a person of faith, and it just ticked me off, man. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, come on. Really? So do you really believe that people, when they take their own lives, they wake up that morning and they say, "You know what? Deep down in my heart and in my spirit, I want to die." I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I don't believe people want it. People don't wake up. People don't come out of the womb saying, I'm going to be a drug addict for the rest of my life. I'm so excited. I mean, people throw around that word choice as if it means you wanted to do that. That was your heartfelt desire. You know what I'm saying, Nathan?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he made a choice. Okay, right. Well, I mean, in the strictest sense of the word, yes, he did make a decision and he followed through with it. You know, in a very robotic, mechanical way, that is true. But when people throw that around like somebody did it because that was where their heart was and that's what they desired to do, yeah, man, it just teased me off. It just says, so here's some myths about depression. Depression is not a real disease or medical condition. That's myth number one. Fact, depression is real. And people need to recognize that depression is as much a medical condition as diabetes or heart disease. The medical community does recognize depression as a distinct medical condition. So people with major depression should seek appropriate depression treatment. Myth number two, you can snap out of depression and jump into positive thinking. Just snap out of it.
Sometimes.
But are you clinically depressed if you can just snap out of it? Or you just have the blues?
Yep, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Depression is not a choice. People with major depression don't choose to have it, just as people don't choose to have asthma or diabetes. Telling someone who's depressed to keep a stiff upper lip or to snap out of it is of no use. In fact, it's insulting. People with major depression need help. The good news is that about 80% of people who get depression treatment start to show improvement within 4 to 6 weeks. Myth number 3, depression will go away on its own. In most cases, major depression will not go away without treatment, and if people don't get help for depression, symptoms such as prolonged periods of hopelessness or sadness and lack of interest in things they usually enjoy can last for weeks, months, or possibly even years. Myth number 4, depression medication can cause you your personality to change.
That's a myth?
Yeah. The fact is, antidepressants are designed to change the chemicals in the brain that cause symptoms of depression. They don't change a person's personality. Sometimes medications need to be adjusted to be most effective, but they help most people with major depression to feel better and like themselves again. In addition, antidepressants are not addictive. In other words, the basic you is still you. Myth number 5, taking antidepressants will only make things worse. Fact, because of its social stigma, many people are reluctant to talk about depression. But talking to others is one of the best things you can do if you're depressed. Keeping your thoughts to yourself, especially if you're feeling suicidal, can be harmful. So talking about depression, well, I said taking antidepressants. That's not what I misread that. Talking about depressions will make things worse. So there's an attitude that if you talk about it, you're just going to go deeper into it. And actually, it works on the reverse. Here are some ways to open about depression. Choose someone you feel close to talk to about it. Be honest. Keep a journal. Write about how you feel. And learn. Study it. Learn more. You cannot fix what you don't acknowledge.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah, and all of those people, we played chemists for so many years trying to balance out that chemistry in our brain, and it's common sense that there's something wrong. If it's I don't know which levels, what chemical, what is it, melamine or something? Or
melatonin?
Melatonin and what's the other one?
Serotonin.
Serotonin. Those... Sometimes your brain just don't pump them out, and a lot of the times it's because, we've been playing chemist up there.
Well, we've done a lot of damage.
That's right.
We know that certain forms of mental illness are not created due to drug abuse. For instance, bipolar is not. I thought, well, I'm bipolar because I did all these drugs, and the doc said, no, you stop beating yourself up over that. But the fact is, you can't put all this crazy stuff into your body without affecting your brain chemistry.
Your chemistry.
Yeah. And so, we know that Mr. Williams, struggled with alcoholism for a long time. What effect did that have on his brain as far as recovering from depression? I don't know. But he was sober.
You want to, I don't know, maybe it's just my brain, but I'm sure you can relate to this knowing old Monty Man, but I watched Robin Williams sometimes, and his brain was such at a different speed. He'd be like on the night show or something, and it would just his thoughts, and he was so racing that it kind of overpowered what was going on. You know what I'm saying?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Which kind of made him brilliant.
Right.
But I used to watch Robin Williams and think I can relate to that horrible radio station in my head. He's just opening his mouth.
Oh yeah. I know. Just one thing after jumping from one topic to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next.
I could actually relate to some. I'm going, man, that guy is wound up. And then you'd see him on other movies where he moved you. He was a pretty special dude.
What an amazing!
He could do anything.
But isn't it interesting that some of our major icons, when it comes to the genius mind, have struggled with mental illness?
Mm-hmm.
Einstein, Lincoln was manic depressive. The list goes on and on. Just Picasso. It's amazing. It's just a trip. All right. Okay, so let's talk about codependency when we come back, and then we're going to talk about how these all kind of mix together. Don't go away.
Hey, September is National Recovery Month, and the Recovery Northwest Project, September 12th through the 14th, beginning Friday at 9 a.m. with an incredible 2-day conference, at the Red Lion, Vancouver, featuring the movers and shakers of the recovery community. Then on Sunday, we'll move on over to beautiful Esther Short Park after the recovery walk and to join the powerful Hands Across the Bridge ceremony. Exhibitors, music, speakers, fun, food, and the power in numbers as hundreds of us gather to celebrate National Recovery Month at the Recovery Northwest Project, Vancouver, Washington. Visit recoverynw.org for details on all the events. Supported in part by the Clark County Department of Community Services Alcohol and Drug Program and the Clark County Substance Abuse Advisory Board.
Men, women, and their families experience tremendous pain and suffering due to the struggles they face from substance abuse and its co-occurring mental health challenges. They need to find a safe place for peace and healing. Therapia Addiction Healing Center was born out of a deep desire to provide that safe and powerful healing environment. Therapia exists to help people recover from addictions by developing and maintaining healthy, meaningful relationships with God, self, and others. To speak with an addiction specialist, call 1-855-652-4325. That's 1-855-652-4325. Or visit our website at www.therapia.net. Therapia Addiction Healing Center, restoring lives one step at a time.
Nathan, if you heard Nathan say, is he smoking a pipe? No, I've got this little statue of Harpo Marx in the studio. I would say, what would you say? It's about 14 inches tall,
right,
or so.
Creepy looking little dude.
This actually was given to me by a former boss of mine, Steve Szyminski. This came out of the MGM Grand Hotel in
wow.
What's the one that blew up? It was in Nevada, I think.
Yeah.
After the bomb had exploded, people were carrying things out of there, and there was these glass cases, and each one of them in this one hallway had each one of the Marx Brothers. Huh. And this one, and I guess he grabbed one or something. I'm not sure exactly how he got it. I don't want to throw him under the bus. But this came out of the MGM Grand after the explosion. Huh. And it's Harpo Marx. And that thing he's got in his hand is actually the horn honker thing that he would go honk honk. Instead of speaking, he would grab that thing. And it was attached to a stick and kind of like a walking stick doohickey.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so there's that there. All right. So there's a saying that not all codependents are addicts or alcoholics, but all alcoholics and addicts are codependent. Codependency can certainly fuel depression. Here's some characteristics of codependency. If you're wondering if you're codependent, by the way, listen to this checkoff list. Just check this out. This comes from the Vice President of Communications, Jesse Olive at Central Recovery in Las Vegas. Speaking of Nevada. Characteristics of codependency. Problems trusting others, anticipating betrayal, making true intimacy very difficult. Do you have problems? Do you think that people are betraying you? If that's something that you obsess over, you may be codependent. People-pleasing, an excessive need or desire to do what other people want, often at the expense of your own needs. What do you think, Nathan? Ever done that?
Absolutely.
A lot?
Absolutely.
And by the way, if you've done any of these, it doesn't mean you're codependent, but if you've done these on some sort of regular basis, ongoing, you know.
Why are you looking at me with those eyes?
Hey, I'm looking right back at myself.
There
believe
you
me. Here's number 3. Covering or making excuses for behavior so as to avoid having to deal with the consequences. Here's an example. Telling family that someone is sick or tired when he or she has taken too many pain medications or is drunk. Oh, they're just tired. They're just sick. That's a big one. Spouses do that all the time. More common amongst women than men. The woman standing in the gap for her husband. I don't want, he can't lose his job, so I'm going to call in sick for him, when we know something else is going on. A need to be in control of self and others at all times. I need to be in control of the situation at all times. If I am not, then I'm failing.
You need to quit talking about me, buddy.
An excessive need for another person's approval or guidance. I thought that was interesting. I get the approval thing. I never thought about the obsessive need for somebody's guidance. You know, I need you to mentor me. I need you to show me what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And if you're gone and you don't do that, I'm in deep weeds. Discounting or doubting one's own judgment, always being worried about making the wrong decision. Man, if I do, and well, I know this because I go into that silent scorn thing. Well, if I say this, they're going to react this way. If I don't say anything, they're going to react that way. So I'll just hide in the corner somewhere. I'm done. You know, we both have gone that. That's fine. I just won't talk. And then we're in trouble if we do that. It's like, my gosh. Always ending up in relationships with people who need to be taken care of. Boy, that's a big red light for a lot of people. Always ending up in relationships with people who initially need help, but later take advantage or become abusive in some way. Have you ever continued to help people and you ended up being the bad guy, but you kept putting yourself in harm's way? You know, here's another friend. Here's another friend. I remember, you remember Big Ed from our home group from years ago. I was whining about, man, somebody else lived with us and we're the bad guy again.
I remember you had a pretty deep spell of that.
Yeah. And he says, take the flippin' mission sign off your door. He was right. He was right. Let's see. Fear of feeling angry or losing control to the point of avoiding confrontation or conflict, or denying that you're angry. Constantly running around with fear of you're going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. Lying, omitting information, even when it would be easier to tell the truth. You know, I know if I tell the truth, it's going to work out better, but I'm comfortable in just omitting stuff and lying about stuff when it comes to other people. Fearing, and here's the big one that was me really bad. Fearing abandonment, would rather be mistreated or abused than be alone. These are some characteristics of codependency. So, if you checked 3 or more of these at any given time, there may be some issues there, you know, and you may want to seek some help. Most people, when they read a list like this, want to rip it up, burn it, or throw it across the room. You know, I'll never forget Marsha, the first time she read Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. She threw it across the room.
Oh, it just strikes a nerve.
Oh, man.
Well, you know what, buddy? It's funny how those are characteristics and how it entwines into my growth and you know, me getting clean, because, you know, one of the whole goals is to get serenity and get an inner peace.
Right.
And when you're codependent and you're running around counting on people to make you feel a certain way, and when things don't, you know what I'm saying? And you just don't have, you know, really you don't have any control.
Yeah.
And you're just counting on everything on the outside and people, places, and things. And one of the things that happens after working the steps and doing what we do is that stuff, I mean, trust me, I still got plenty of that stuff going on, but I love to be by myself, and there's an inner peace that I have that nobody can take, you know. And it comes with a little bit in integrity and, you know, a little spiritual stuff all mixed together. And
right.
I never had that, buddy. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I decided to get drunk and loaded, because I could not stand it. I could not stand it. And of course, the world, you put all of that into somebody else, and they're all going to fail. You put that into the world to be okay. Well, you're doomed.
Right.
You're doomed, because it's not okay. And, you know, and I know that me and my marriage, my wife's a normie, but we both have some of those same stuff. And it's funny how, you know, that, to me, when you start talking about that, I think about my relationship, especially with the opposite sex and my wife.
Sure.
And it's like a magnet, man.
Yeah.
It's like a magnet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm the guy that likes to
moth to the flame, man.
I like to come riding in on white horse because it strokes my ego, you know, and all of the things that I've caught myself doing. And, you know, it's funny how all that's entwined together, my friend.
Oh my gosh! And you see how that can just fuel depression if you deal with clinical depression.
Mm-hmm. I have.
Like me too. You know how it can just fuel it. You know the whole this whole thing that Bill W. talked about learning to be emotionally independent, not independent from our Creator, but being able to stand on our own 2 feet, mm-hmm. not depending on other people's behavior to be okay with who we are.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about it. We got the triple-edged sword. We're getting loaded. Our chemistry ain't working right. We're counting on other people to make us feel okay, which it ain't. And then we have depression, so we're telling ourselves, you know, basically this is broken, the world's horrible, and blah, 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 blah. And you can see how those three things together are a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And of course, some people say, well, you woke up that morning and you chose to feel this way. Yeah, well, whatever. What is that thing? Just choose not to breathe. Just try that. Let's talk about choice. Yeah, let's see about how that works. Okay, so how does this fit in with humility? It can almost seem like a contradiction. Being humble and being codependent, because we're saying that we don't we don't want to put other people first to the point that we aren't able to function. And yet, biblical principles and just about every spiritual form of life, from any of the Eastern mystics all the way to Judeo-Christianity, there's usually some part of self-sacrifice intertwined in those beliefs. You know, putting somebody else first, serving other people, laying down your life. There's no greater love than a man lays down his life for his brother, that kind of thing. Where do you draw the line? You know, which is codependent and which is self-sacrificing to the point of being, you know, godly.
And then you hear stuff like, this is a selfish program.
Yeah.
You know, there's still all kinds of loops happening.
And you know, I think people that are really, one of the ways you can really tell if somebody is struggling with codependency,
when they say
is when they say that,
yeah,
or when they say, you know what, I don't care what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
Really, who are you trying to convince?
Mm-hmm.
you know, but here's some really cool things. The greatest barrier to serving God is a heart motivated by self-interest. People with hearts motivated by self-interest put their own agenda, safety, status, and gratification ahead of that of those affected by their thoughts and actions. So we know that it is a spiritual, mature person that puts another person's agenda before their own. But when does that cross the line into becoming codependent? I'll never forget sitting down at the table at a banquet that was being put on by some Al-Anon folks. And this guy asked his wife to pass the salt, and she said, I'm not passing you the salt. I'm not going to be codependent to you. I thought, what? And I thought she was joking around. She was not joking around.
Wow.
See, she went too far. You know what I mean? It's like, I ain't doing nothing for you. Mm-hmm. And so is there a fine line? I don't know that it's a fine line. I think there's a definite, I think it's obvious. If you really, you know, do the work, if you do the 12-step work, if you're codependent, if you really look into yourself, you know when you're being codependent and when you're being humble and being a servant.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I won't even say Robin Williams, but with me, and I bet it. See, here's the thing. I do things like this. This is where me working a program, being accountable, and talking and having people around me that can call me on my stuff, because I do things like this. I will, you know me, I work myself. I mean, I'll work 16 hours, get 2 hours sleep, and get up and do it again. And what I tell myself is, it's for my family. They're number one. I don't mander. You know, my kids, my wife. That's it. You know, and then I'll neglect myself. But then on the flip side of it, something else will happen, and I'll just selfishly go, I deserve it. I deserve to do what I want to do. I'm going to go buy those $200 pair of hunting pants. Bummer. I deserve it. I work hard.
Right.
So you see how my brain, and so then all of a sudden you're going, well, and then you see yourself playing a little head games and telling yourself some lies, and then pretty soon it's so overwhelming in your head because it's just a big cluster. You know? I mean, that's and it becomes madness.
Yeah.
It really does, and then you kind of get lost in it, And so it's very important for me to just be around people, and that's why meetings and things like that are so good for my head, because I get around and that kind of stuff goes on. Even when I know it, I can tell myself a little something, and I work so dang hard. I'm the hardest guy in the world. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do that and do that. And you see how I'm using all these thinking errors, and I talk myself into stuff, and then, it's deep and nasty, really, spiritually.
Right.
And so,
and there's I don't know if I've heard people say there's no such thing as a bad meeting, and then my response to that is well, you haven't gone to enough meetings.
Yeah.
But when you go and you can take a deep breath, like there's a meeting you and I attend, and it's like you can leave everything at the door and just go.
It's a scheduled check yourself,
right?
Opening the door for God to throw something through somebody. It's just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you just never know.
Yeah. Here's one I love this. Humility is realizing and emphasizing the importance of others. It is not putting yourself down. It is lifting others up. Humility is realizing and emphasizing the importance of others. It's not putting yourself down. It's lifting others up. So if I'm truly humble, I'm gonna have your best interest at heart. I'm not going to neglect myself. I'm not going to put myself down. It's not humiliation, but I'm gonna do things to benefit you. Do I do that so it'll benefit me? Hopefully not. Maybe in the beginning that's why I do it, but hopefully I benefit from it as a result of doing that, not for the purpose of doing that. Humility has a difficult time coexisting with self-awareness. True humility comes when we are consumed with awareness of another. Consumed is not the same as being obsessed. It's being obsessed by something is dangerous. If I don't do this, I'm going to be a failure. Being consumed means I want the best for you. When I'm thinking about you, I'm focused on what's good for you, and I want what's best for you. And it just simply means that when we think along those lines, we're putting other people first. The obsession, however, is it starts involving things like I'm gonna do what's best for you, whether you like it or not.
I got an uncomfortable challenge for you.
Sure.
So I think one of the extreme opposites of humility is ego.
Yes.
And now here's the uncomfortable challenge. If you truly think about everything you do behind ego in your life, even I'm humble, I'm doing this, but dude, if you dig deep, it is disgusting. It really is. You just go, oh my gosh. On the outside, I just helped that old lady do this, and then on the inside, you're going, there's some ego behind that. See what I'm saying? I just helped this old lady. I just helped that old lady do that. You know, so it's that's humility's a tricky one too. I mean, it's. I guess it said one thing in there about basically letting it go. Yeah. I think that just being able to turn it over and letting it go, a lot of the stuff is a big part of it.
So humility has a difficult time coexisting with self-awareness. That's exactly what you were saying. Mm-hmm. I have become very aware of how humble I was.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I love this. Living with humility requires knowing whose you are and who you are. Who do I belong to? Am I the property of me? Or am I in the arms of my Creator? Who do I belong to? Who has my best interests at heart? Am I always walking around hoping that you do? Or do I know and believe that my Creator does? Who do I belong to? And I forget that because, we're, can I touch it? Can I see it? Can I feel it? I want to see you express it, kind of thing. And then my identity, who's my identity in? This self-esteem thing is so overrated. I mean, I should be God-esteemed. I want my identity to be in Him, not in me, because then I'm back to my own power again, and that can be dangerous. I'm hesitating if I should bring this up or not. I'm going to bring it up. I was basically told, not in so many words, but I was basically told I wasn't welcome at a wedding on Saturday. And the guy that got married is somebody I thought that I was a close friend with. But his wife hates me. I mean, she loathes me, dude. So why am I surprised? Right? I should be going, well, of course. That just makes sense. If I'm truly humble, I recognize this is her day. Whether I like her or she likes me or not, the truth of the matter is this is her day. She gets to say who gets to be at her wedding before he does. This is her day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm torqued. Because this guy's been a part of my life for years, and he's letting her make decisions about who's going to be at his wedding. You know what I mean? I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord have mercy. So I'm struggling with humility there, man.
Mm-hmm.
So who do I belong to? Her approval, or do I belong to God?
Right.
I ain't gonna get her approval. This woman never called on me in 28 years of sitting around a meeting. She never once called on me, ever. And my silence corn said, "Well, I'm not even going to volunteer to share. I'm waiting for her to call on me." Oh man, we are so sick. Here's the thing about I love about humility. What's said about humility and service. Service is not the path of greatness. Service is greatness. When you serve somebody, when you have a servant's heart, you're taking on some of the personality of God. Isn't it amazing how our God isn't just the creator of the universe? He's a servant. He serves us. Pastor Mitch says something. Did you know that God not only loves you, He likes you? Wow. We don't think we deserve that, right?
Right.
So service is not a path to greatness. It is greatness. But see, my pride says, well, I'm going to work really hard to serve you so I can receive, the kudos because I'm doing ego again. The edging God out thing. Pastor Kelly says it's exalting God only. That's the shift in ego. From edging God out to exalting God only. Humility is not a single act, but a single attitude. We're not humble just once. We're not a servant just once. We don't put somebody else just once. It's an attitude of that. While it sounds contrary, it would be wise for each of us to assess the level of our humility. It is not that difficult. Just review the past week and consider how much time was spent serving yourself versus serving others. So I have to check my motive. Well, I did all this and this and this and this for other people, but who was I really serving? So I can see where this can be confusing with codependency.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
It's a different angle, and it's something I have struggled with. Because a lot of the times, here's an example. I have a brother that's, he's more passive. He's a pastor, and he's a very genuine, humble person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a type A. I've always been a go-getter, and I've always been not so much. A lot of ego. And so that's one of the things I work on. Here's one of the things that's a challenge for me, and I don't know if some of you folks out there can relate to this, but if my brother is at a function, naturally and genuinely, he's the kind of guy that is always making sure the chairs are picked up. He's just genuinely doing in service, doing humble things. One of the things for me when I came in here, because I was so selfish for so long, that things like that, there wasn't a genuine I mean, I was just pretty selfish, and even to this day. But so I always overthink that. But here's the thing: for me, I still have to take the leap, even though I know I have to do it in the body, and the spirit follows, and I become more genuine. If I continue to do service and pick up the chairs and do the things that my brother does, because I know it's right, even though inside there's ego behind it, and I'm aware of that, and it doesn't feel genuine, you know? I mean, you know, I run, people see me, and I'm out in my business, and I'm moving an old lady for free. I'm just, the whole crew, we're there, we've rented a van, we're moving this lady, and people go, man, that Nathan Adams is a very humble, great guy. But they don't see what's on the inside. Part of me is doing two things. One, I'm doing because I know it's right.
Right.
And there's a genuine part of me that cares for the old lady and wants to do the right thing. But there's also a selfish part that's, you know, I have a lot of that stuff going on to where, and it's gotten to where I become more genuine. So I know that we've talked about ego and stuff. I just want to, some of the listeners that have that same kind of thinking go on. Fake it till you make it. Continue to do things that are right.
Yeah.
And the spirit follows. And, you know, I've come...
Don't stop doing what's right.
That's what I'm saying.
Just because you are recognizing some of it is self-serving.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Continue to.
Right.
And that's always been a thing for me.
Because other people are going to benefit from it. They may not know, you know, what's that phrase, you know, they don't know that inside this armor is a child.
That's right. But, you know, I need to be aware of when there's ego involved in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just is what it is, and I pray about it, and I do the right thing because I'm supposed to do the right thing, you know, but I have to be aware of that ego thing, and that's, you know, that's one of those things that you're just aware of, you pray about, you keep doing the right thing, and eventually change happens, and you become more of a genuine person.
Thus that phrase, I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. And so, wow, when you think about it, how egotistical is it to say, okay, I recognize ego's involved, so I'm just going to shut down and not do the next right thing.
That's my point.
Yeah.
For me, that definitely applies.
Right.
I don't know if that's...
yeah, I get it. Gee whiz.
It's real easy to just go, it's too much, because you just see all these, especially in recovery, we're looking at ourselves, and it just becomes, you know, I suspect, one of those telling you about Robin Williams, I don't want to bring that up again, but I could see the madness. I could see him being aware of all the stuff. Like me, I do that. I get aware of, I'm doing that, but I'm humble, and there's ego and this and that. Pretty soon I just say, that's too much. You know, because I overanalyze. That's one of my defects. And so sometimes I think serenity, I know I'm rambling, but serenity is the ability to let that stuff go and look to my Creator.
Yeah.
Do the next right thing. And that is a daily practice for a guy like me.
Right. I absolutely agree. And I think the big book alludes to it. I think the good book alludes to it, that there's this conflict going on. That everything we want to do, we don't do. Everything we don't want to do, we do. Oh, Lord, you know, that even in our most unselfish thinking, we're self-centered. You know, so we're always checking our motives and that kind of thing. But don't stop doing what's right.
Do not be so hard on yourself.
Don't stop.
Continue to do what's right.
Because it eventually, if you continue to do it, it'll turn. And one day you'll say, wow, when did that happen? Was I doing this genuinely for you and not for me? So I don't know when that happened.
That's the only saying I've ever made up, that change is something. I've said this before. Change is something I can't force. It's just something I welcome by doing the footwork, by doing the right thing. And the next thing you know, I've changed. That's how the whole thing's happened for me. Yeah. I ain't forced nothing.
Oh, wow. So if you've got a chemical imbalance, codependent issues, learning to be a servant without neglecting yourself, and then living in the world we live in today, if you've got a chemical imbalance, it's easy to understand where depression can overtake you.
Yeah.
And take you places that you don't want to go. There are worse things than drinking and using.
Oh, man.
And we've watched it happen this last week. Oh boy! So another reason why it is so absolutely essential that a relationship with our Creator is established.
Got to tap into some divine help.
Yeah. And I am not going to say, like somebody said the other day, well, obviously he had not turned his will and his life over to the care of God. How do you know that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
How do you know that?
That's ridiculous.
Because, why would God Almighty become flesh and dwell among us in the form of Jesus Christ if we were all that?
Yeah.
So, again, I just tell people like that to pull the needle out. And you're not listening to whatever is being taught, or whatever is being taught to you is wrong. Run. Yeah. If you're shaming people into right behavior, good luck with that. All right, we are out of time. So, we talked about a lot today. We talked about depression. We talked about codependency. We talked about humility. Do they all mix and match? And yeah, they can. And the good news is that we have a God that loves us, that directs our paths. Here's what I'll say. When things are confusing, don't lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge God and He will light your path. If you are unable to do that because of a chemical imbalance or whatever, or you're so confused, you go like, what? I don't know why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. There's no shame in asking for help. There's none.
Life or death stuff.
Yeah, it really is. All right. Well, buddy, have a good week.
You too.
All right, folks, until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man and Nathan, and we're wishing God's perfect serenity for you.
When it all came crashing down, there was only darkness all around, but in the distance I could see a flame. What you did for me, you gave me something I want everyone to see. When we stumble and it all goes wrong, only you can make it right. So I say, I'm learning to be the light. I'm learning to be the light.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Be the light.
Kitty, 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 kitty.